welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be covering the Cinestill 50D. I'm really excited because I actually shot this particular film. Can you see it? Do the, what is that, Grace, what is it, Grace Helbig? Yeah, I used to do that all the time. Anyway, I am really excited because I shot a roll of this last video in Sandy Hook, and I was obsessed with the way the photos came out. I really loved the way it handled light. It is quite like very low ISO, obviously, so we are going to be shooting it in my backyard. It's around 11 o'clock, so it's super bright out. And in case you aren't following me on Instagram, I've been doing a lot of backyard shoots just because of COVID. It's a really safe way to continue shooting without having to deal with a lot of foot traffic. So I'm actually going to be shooting outside and kind of wanted to document the behind the scenes of that as well, just so you can kind of see what I'm doing. And I'm going to be shooting with my friend Taylor, who I'm really, really close to. She is part of my little, what's that called when you like COVID squad. So I won't be wearing a mask today, so you'll be able to hear and actually see me talk and go through things. But yeah, if you are not subscribed, definitely do like the video and let me know what you want to see more, and let's get shooting. All right, so the first camera, I'm actually going to be shooting on two cameras today, but the first camera I'm using is the Canon Eos 1V. I love this camera. I've shot with it, I think, twice now. This will be the second time on this channel. And then I'm shooting with the Sigma 24 to 70 millimeter lens. I did bring down my fisheye in case I want to get a little weird at some point, which this is Taylor, so we always like to get weird. Me too. Also, introducing my model. This is Taylor. I feel like if you've been following along on this channel, you probably have met Taylor at some point. Once or twice. Yeah, we're very close. I am like very excited to be shooting her for this because I figured it would just be fun to do it with friends. But yeah. And I'll leave her information below, so you guys should definitely go check her out. Oh. All right, let's get started because it's getting hot out here. Okay, so moving on to my Fujifilm 645Zi. I love this camera so much. I actually was thinking about doing the entire video on this camera, but decided I kind of wanted to play with the film stock instead. But I'm obsessed with this camera. I loved the images I got from my Sandy Hook, and I am really excited. I feel like the focus on it is so good. There was a couple that were off in that video, but like, I think it was mostly just because they were heavily backlit with the sunrise, sunset, one of the two of them. Yeah, really excited to continue to shoot with this. So let's get into it because I'm like spitzing out here. It's so bad. So just finished. I wanted to quickly come on and just say a little bit just because I was not able to talk as much as I initially wanted to because of the AC unit, but I am really loving this camera. I shot a few rolls recently with it and I'm obsessed with it. I think the format is really lovely and honestly it's so easy to shoot with. The only thing that I actually saw online a couple people are complaining about is this is actually vertical and this is horizontal, which if you're an SLR user it's kind of hard to not even an SLR. I feel like most cameras typically are like when you're shooting this way, it's horizontal. So it just takes a little while to adjust to, but it's such a small thing. It's not that big of a deal. I shot with 2 different lenses as well as this body, and I've really been enjoying that vibe, like shooting with multiple cameras, multiple lenses. And the focus here obviously was the film, which I didn't talk a ton about, but I've been such a fan of the color of that. I shot 1 roll at Sandy Hook, as I mentioned before, and just love the color tones on that and really think this bright light today will work really well for it. And I've gotten a couple questions about how I'm shooting in the backyard. So this is actually the first time I've worked with the background stand and I'm obsessed with it. It's just another way for me to kind of play and get a ton out of the space. And I love the velvet, obviously. And I feel like it lended itself really well to the looks that we shot today. Like Taylor is kind of out there in terms of her styling. She styled everything. Most of the clothes was my own. Actually, all of the clothing and then the accessories were hers. But I'm really excited. I think this is going to be such a fun shoot to go through. I am going to intersplice a little bit on the end, sort of talking through the final images. But if you have any questions, if you enjoyed this video, definitely let me know if you have any other things you want me to talk about. And yeah, I'm going to go eat the chicken sandwich I ordered. Okay, so I got my film back, and honestly, I'm such a fan of this film. I definitely think it's acquired taste because it does kind of have some color shifts, which I personally am a huge fan of. As I mentioned previously, or I think I did anyway, I shot the original last week, but my friend Taylor, who was the model, I feel like her style and just like overall aesthetic kind of lends itself to a little bit like more editorial, edgy, a little weird. And so I didn't mind the idea of the color shift. I will say I think the first 2 looks are definitely my favorite. I loved the more directional light that we had in the morning. I think putting the background stand in the middle of my backyard helped a little bit more with the brightness as the day progressed and we kind of moved the last look into that corner. I think it was a little dark. You will notice as you look through the film, it kind of got really green, which I don't know. I mean, I did shoot on a green background, so that might have been why. And then also just like the color playing off of it with the different light. But it went a little too green for my liking. I feel like the other one tended to stay a little bit more true to color, and maybe it is because it was more in the shade and it was a little bit harder to expose properly. I do think also, I'm so in my brain because I've been shooting mostly with Portra and Color Plus, which I feel like does give you a little bit more leeway in terms of exposure. I feel like if you overexpose it, it typically turns out pretty well. It just kind of sort of desaturates a little bit, makes it more like pastel colors, which I personally like. But I feel like this definitely, I would highly recommend you trying to expose properly. I would definitely like even maybe a touch underexposed, but it does tend to like, I think it yields itself better to like bright directional light. And the photos that I shot initially at Sandy Hook were pretty bright because it was I think it was like one of the last rolls I shot that morning. So it was very bright. It was like, you know, we're on a beach, so it's pretty like morning directional light. So I would definitely recommend, or if I'm going to continue playing with it, I would do it on a day where I knew I was going to be dealing with a lot of bright light. 50 ISO is hard to shoot with. But I mean, sometimes, you know, like if you are like midday shooting and it's really, really bright, like sometimes 100, I'm still shooting at like a very high f-stop or a very high shutter speed. So it sort of depends on the situation. It's a very expensive film. Personally, I'm definitely a fan. I do think that I'm going to have to experiment with it a little bit more, but the images that I got, I'm really a big fan of. I just think that last set of images from the last look is probably not my favorite. And you guys can tell me like your experience in the comments. Let me know if you've kind of played around with this film and what your thoughts were on it. Overall, I'm a huge fan. I really love the images. I think that the color definitely, I loved how like oversaturated some of the images came out. They like, I feel like the ones that were a little more in super direct light, so I was kind of shooting from the side, the color went a little bit punchier, which I really enjoyed as well. So I think it's all in terms of like playing around with them a little bit, but really like I'm so excited to continue shooting with this film. I think that like the price point definitely kind of scared me, and then I've heard some things about the color shift specifically on the 800. Because it does sort of, I don't even know if I really talked about in terms of like the type of film that Cinestill is, but it does sort of give you an interesting, almost like dreamlike vibe in the highlights, which I really enjoyed, especially because I was shooting in more direct light. But it's definitely an acquired taste, as I mentioned. So, you know, I say give it a go. I think that you can tell by my photos, and if you want to check out the Sandy Hook video, you can kind of see was the last look on that video. I didn't really write initially, and I'm probably going to start doing that a little bit more in terms of the cameras I'm using, and then also the film stocks that I'm using if I don't specify or it's not on a certain type of film for that video. I'm still kind of adjusting. This is all new to me. And yeah, I'm really enjoying enjoying playing with these types of video structures. So if you have any other ideas, definitely comment below. And that's it. I hope you are having a great day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.